chops with bone marrow butter sauce is what I'm making today. And I've also got some fruit to grill on the side as well, because that just makes it fun. It makes it flavorful. This is a great recipe for you to share on Father's Day. It's everything essentially goes on the grill and it's done in maybe 10 minutes or so, depending on how fast you prep. But again, everything on the grill and then everything comes off. Very easy, very simple. Not so much to clean either. And grilling pork chops, bone marrow, butter, like, you know, what dad wouldn't love that? And or anybody really. So again, this is good for any day of the week. But it's really fun to do it on the weekend. And, you know, if you have a special occasion, why not? Because this will impress. So with that said, I do want to point out that this pork is pasture-raised, corn and soy-free pork. So oftentimes, many people overcook pork, and that is because they're getting it from a low quality source. They're just getting it at any old grocery store and picking up any old brand. And mind you, these are from pigs that are in confinement, that have antibiotics and hormones pumped into them, and just, you know, even water injected into them, all the bad things, right? So people tend to overcook because they want to kill off all those things, parasites even, right? But not if you get it from a good quality source. When you source really well, you don't have to worry about any of that, really, like very minimal degree. These are corn and soy free fed pork, pasture raised, and so they feed and they grub on all of the things that normal pigs do. They're not fed all of these grains and fillers and even byproducts, right? So I really am careful of where I source my pork from and poultry, because those specifically are, if they are fed a crappy diet, then those get translated into the fat and absorbed into the fat right away. And that's something that we are directly consuming, as opposed to ruminant animals that have that four-chambered stomach, which helps ferment and clear out and sort of act as a filter before it gets to human consumption. So they have a better ability to remove the toxins, whereas pork and poultry don't. So that's my spiel on just sourcing quality meat, specifically pork and poultry. You want to do that. And so this bone marrow also comes from Shertail Creek Farm too as well. So yeah, and these eggs too, these are also corn and soy free. So I'm really pumped to show you guys the recipe. Let's dive in. All right, the grill is heating up nicely, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring these bone marrows over there and plop it in the cast iron that I have in here. All right, so this is happening pretty fast, so I'm gonna go ahead and peel actually the apples. And I mean, peaches are in season, these are amazing. Like blackberries are in season too, so you could do anything you want, but peaches make great fruit to grill. And they're just super yummy, a good pair with pork. I actually don't really skin the peaches, so I'll just kind of slice those to where you can just toss them on the grill and then pop them off when they're ready. All right, we'll be coring the apples with this nice little 1/4 teaspoon. Makes a really good core, see, without wasting too much of the apples. So that's what I like to do. And then I'm just gonna cut the apple pretty much into 4s like so that you just pop on the grill. It's easy to toss on, easy to take off. They don't fall through the grates. Amazing. And then the peaches, I'm just gonna leave the skin on. And yeah, cut through that. And you have the pit that you can just remove and then toss on. So put these all on a plate so that I can bring over to the grill. Whoop, don't want to lose too much juice there. All right, now I've cut some lemon in half too. Then I'm just gonna squeeze some of that lemon on the fruit. Really just brightens it and it brings out the flavor. Also add a little salt. Okay, here we go. Next up, I'm gonna toss the fruit on the grill. Let's check on these bone marrows. It's been about 5 minutes. Oh yeah, that's looking great. So I'm getting ready to toss on the fruit. All right, here we go. Some fruit and get some nice grill marks on there. Put it up front here. That way I can put my pork chops on in the back. There we go. Nice. All right, gonna come over here now and toss these pork chops on the grill. I'm gonna set the timer for 3 minutes. All right, let's see what we got here. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and flip those pork chops and the fruit. Here we are here. Yeah. Flip. All right, meanwhile, while those pork chops are cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and start making that bone marrow butter sauce, the next ingredient. So this is an egg. I'm gonna take 2 egg yolks. Whoops, that's okay. Luckily it's still here. Plop one there, and then we'll take a second egg yolk, and then just plop it in a separate bowl. Okay. And then we're gonna take about 2 tablespoons of butter. Here we are. Whoa, this is melty. Plop it in there. All right, now I'm gonna go get the bone marrow and actually set that out and let it cool for a bit. And then we'll combine it with the butter and with the egg yolk that we just created. All right, look at that marrow. All right, perfectly cooked. I'm gonna leave those fruit in there for just a little bit longer to warm up, but check out this. Yummies. This is perfectly cooked, 145 degrees Fahrenheit is what the internal temperature should read. And again, that is just perfect pork from a clean source so that you don't have to fear it being dirty, or you don't have to cook it to death, because there's nothing really to kill here, because coming from a clean environment, you don't have all the other yuckies and the nasties that the other conventional farms do. So we're gonna let that rest, and then we're gonna come back. Also add a little bit of salt here too. All right, gonna take some of these fruits off now. These peaches definitely cooked a little faster than the apples, just FYI. Oh, there we are. Turn that off. Cool. And then you have your grilled fruit here. Now I'll go ahead and chop them up into a little bit smaller pieces here. Just be careful of your hands. Just came off the grill, so you can do this at a different time. I'm not I wasn't thinking about the heat in my hands. Great. And then typically too, the peaches skins come off really easy, so if you don't want the skins, then there you go, it just comes off easy. And I'll just toss them in there. Add a little bit more lemon here. Great. All right, now for the final part of the recipe is the bone marrow butter sauce, right? So we already put our bone or our butter and our egg yolks in there, and then also a pinch of salt. So 2 egg yolks, about 2 tablespoons of butter or more if you'd like, but this is very, very rich. So what I'll do is I will take a bone, not too hot. That one's a little hot. Let's do this. Okay, and then scooping it in there like so. All that marrow. Yo, that looks so good. Get all the yummies in there. Amazing. Okay, I'll put it here for right now, because what I also want to do is just take the ones, I'll put this here for right now too, and then take the marrow, see, you can see it back here, and just pour the rest of that in there like so. Great. Then we will take our whisk. Okay, I'm actually gonna add that second bone here. So scoop all that in there, all the yummies. Cool. So 2 bones. Mix it up in there. And I'm actually going to store the bone marrow in here just so that it cools a little bit and it solidifies so it could be more like a butter. All right, now while that bone marrow butter is solidifying a little bit more, so that's just a note to self, maybe we might want to do that a little bit earlier so that we don't have to wait. I'm going to go ahead and cut into these pork chops and look how beautiful they are. So there's a bone here. Also, another tip is if you source pork chops with a bone in it, you just get more flavor that way. So I highly recommend that. Yep, this is cooked to perfection and it looks so amazing. I always save the bone for, you know, could dress it up or just people want to eat off the bone because it is that flavorful. Okay, and so then you can start to develop your plates. I'm not a chef, but, you know, make it pretty or don't. That's cool too. And then just, you know, plate on some nice grilled fruit here. Yummy. Apples. You can even drizzle a little extra honey on there if you want. I think I left a pit in there, so I'm gonna have to pull that out before your guests. And again, you can take off the skin pieces too if you don't like those. I actually personally do. Give each other a whole peach there, and then some apples here. There you go. Obviously, you can make bigger portion sizes, or, I mean, this is plenty. This is actually a lot for 2 people, but just to make a plate pretty. Now let's go ahead and grab our bone marrow butter sauce. All right, I'm grabbing our bone marrow butter sauce out of the fridge, and it actually solidifies pretty quickly. So again, I'd probably cook it a little ahead of time, put it in the fridge, and then maybe pull it out so it gets a little more to room temperature before you serve. And then the pork chops are a little warm, and then you can just, honestly, it's like, look at how good this is. Okay, spoon it on there. Oh yeah. Okay, spoon it on there. There we go. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of salt on everything because salt is yummy, and then obviously people can add more if they like, and there you go. So you have a wonderful grilled pork chop with bone marrow butter sauce on here, okay, and grilled fruit on the side. So this is just a super yummy meal. Again, you can toss everything on the grill, and healthy, of course. If you source from corn, soy-free, pasture-raised pork, you can make it even that much healthier. And yeah, you don't have to miss out on flavor, on taste. When you source quality, oftentimes people think that, but you don't. And also, if you eat animal-based, I don't think I'm missing out on flavor much, really. If you wanted to add some different herbs in there, maybe some balsamic vinegar, and go ahead and do that. But this is just a great way to keep it pretty simple and not put health in somebody else's hands, right? So you can kind of take control by controlling all of the ingredients in there, even something as fancy as bone marrow butter sauce. So cool. I hope you enjoy this meal. Let me know in the comments below if you tried it or if you switched it up or if you just made your own version of it. Please let me know or ask me anything. And also maybe any suggestions too that you have for what would you like me to cook, then please comment below and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified of the next time that I drop a recipe. Okay, see you next time.